Hello?
Welcome back, Patriots. And this is my follow-up video to the Tavistock Institute and their ties to Tavistock Institute's ties to the birth of rock and roll. Which I love. I love rock and roll. I love punk rock. I like some heavy metal. I like rap. Hip hop, rap. The likelihood that the Tavistock Institute was heavily involved in the rock and roll music movement is high. There is even a theory advanced by former MI6 agent John Coleman that Theodore Adorno wrote the lyrics for the Beatles and other British invasion bands. There's not much evidence to support that aspect of the plot. But Adorno did try to influence and contabulate music. Theodore Adorno is very well could have been one of the brains behind rock and roll. Driven Mad is taken from Tavistock's training manual from its modest beginnings in 1921. Tavistock was ready in 1966 to launch a major irreversible cultural revolution, also known as the mass culture industry in America, one that has not yet ended. According to the Stanford Encyclopedia of Psychology, Adorno was born on September 11, 1903 as Theodor Ludwig Wiesengrund. He was yet another one of those mixed hybrids from the Frankfurt that we keep discovering in our research. Was he the scion of yet another hidden Sebastian Frankist bloodline? He was the only son of a wealthy German wine merchant of a simulated Jewish background. His mother was an accomplished musician and Corsican Catholic descent. Maria Cavalieri Adorno della Pierna was an eminent opera singer. Adorno adopted his mother's family name. He excelled on the piano and thought for a while of becoming a composer rather than a philosopher, hence the studies in Vienna and Albenberg. Berg was another overrated but promoted composer of hideous music, which Adorno picked up. The following video is a recording of an awful piano piece Adorno himself composed and performed. This is a 12 astonal system consisting of heavy, repetitive sounds taken from the music of the cult of Dionysus and the Baal priesthood. We all know what Baal is, right? Adorno gave them a modern flavor. In other words, Adorno dumbed it down for purposes of creating rock and roll. This is all out there. Just information. Very interesting. I just thought I would share it with y'all. Then let's take a listen. I don't even think I want to listen to it. I think it's gonna be bad. It sounds like something I could do when you're just like dun 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 dun. Like I could do that. Right? You get my drift. Like, have you ever just got up to a piano and you're just pushing random keys, but and it kind of it sounds just like that. Like it sounds like someone just came up to a piano and they're like dun 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 dun. Like anybody can do that. So now I'm thinking, if this guy is supposed to have written some of the Beatles' songs, I don't know. Now I'm starting to think something else. Adorno licked his lizard lips in describing the concoction, what could be argued against the Beatles. He said during a discussion in the magazine Agente in 1965, is simply that what these people have to offer is something that is, I'm not going to say that word, in terms of its own objective content. It can be shown, and the means of expression that are employed and preserved are, in reality, no more than traditional techniques in a degraded form. The 12-tone technique is also known as the do de dodecaphony. It's a method of musical composition devised by Australian Jewish composer Arnold Schoenberg and associated with the second Viennese school composers. The great composer Richard Strauss described Schoenberg as being in need of a psychiatrist. Whenever someone needs a psychiatrist, that's when you know there's a little, I don't know. You just know there's something not right with them, right? He said that he'd rather do the shovel snow instead of scribbling on music paper. And let's just compare Schoenberg and Strauss and see where the rubber meets and the road, shall we? I don't think you have to be a musical expert to understand.
Too much noise. Too much commotion. It was fast enough. Der Felber beschaut's. Achtung! Stillgestanden! Na jetzt mal! Oder soll ich bitten, wir können nachhelfen? Na gut, wenn ihr das haben wollt! The sergeant and his subordinates hit everyone, young or old, strong or sick, guilty or innocent. It was painful to hear them groaning and moaning. They had been hit very hard. So
That was horrible, man. It was like, it kind of reminded me of like a Hitler speech. Yeah, sorry for all the symbolism I did there or whatever. It was just like, automatically just sounded evil to me, alright? Automatic. So I got a little history lesson there. I didn't know Richard Strauss was the one that made that iconic song. So much better than the other shitty song, right? That was actually really surprising for me. I wasn't expecting that. I was like, I know this song. This song is so cool. Oh, this video has been removed. In Origins of Negative Dialectics, Susan Buck Morris makes the Arley Frankfurt School continuing on with the article. When we went down this rabbit hole, we had to check the confirmation bias that this would be full-blown Jewish cesspool. Indeed, in the 1920s and 1930s, this music form was denounced by cultural Bolshevism and degenerate art by National Socialists in Germany and Austria. It was called a Jewish leveling conspiracy. Here at Winter Watch, we try to verify and let the chips fall honestly where they may. In actuality, to be fair, most of the dodecaphony composers were Gentiles, not Jews, and were the promoters. Charlemagne Franctus did the overrated Adorno end up at the Tavistock and Stanford Institutes through sheer ability? We think not. He was placed as a made man. The music promoted by Theodore Adorno during the 1930s and in his 1948 book, Philosophy of New Music, he considered Arnold Schoenberg the most progressive person in modern music. He also promoted another travesty, Igor Stravinsky. Have a listen, only slightly less annoying than Schoenberg and Webern. That wasn't too bad. Adorno left Germany in the spring of 1934 during the Nazi era. He resided in Oxford, New York City, and Southern California. The latter German Jewish community was nicknamed Weimer on the Pacific. Jewish interests dominated the entertainment industry, and they had undeserved influence. Arjuna wrote several books for which later became famous, including Dialect of Enlightenment with Max Horkheimer, Philosophy of New Music, The Arthurian Personality, a collaborative project, and the Mimima Moralia. I think I said all those correctly. Adorno was a player at the Stanford Research Institute for the Study of Social Policy, which sprung the Aquarium conspiracy upon the world. SRI director Professor Willis Harman produced The Changing Images of Man. URH, policy, whatever, research number, report number 4474, policy report prepared by whatever's, dude. I don't think that's important. The Beatles became a highly visible new type in Tavistock jargon, and as such, it was not long before the group made new styles, fads in clothing, hairstyles, and language usage that upset the older generation, as was intended. This was part of the fragmentation, maladaptation process worked out by Harman, Adorno, and their team of social scientists of generic engineering tinkerers and put into action. The Beatles were introduced to the public as a means to spread youth culture, which led to the spreading of a new age culture, and this was all geared to settling up a nihilistic culture that is all present today. In hindsight, through the Beatles were tame, just a warm up. Tavistock Institute of Human Relations, as well as the sister organization, the Stanford Research Institute, developed the Grateful Dead, among other things. Alan Turst, a social engineer for the Tavistock Institute, became a shadow manager of the Dead. His father, Eric Turst, was one of the principal founding members of Tavistock. Nothing could and would have been accomplished without the cooperation of the media, especially the electronic media, and in particular the secularist Ed Sullivan, Irish descent, who was being coached by the conspirators as to the role he was to play. Nobody would have paid much attention to the motley crew from Liverpool and the 12 Astonal system of music that was to follow, had it not been for an overabundance of press exposure. Ed Sullivan was soon to become acquainted with the first Tavistock Institute rock group to hit the shores of the United States. Sullivan was returned to the United States to draft the strategy for TV and record on how to package and sell the group. Without the full cooperation of electronic media and Ed Sullivan in particular, the Beatles and their music would have died on the vine. I think it's because I don't blink. I'm just like, I'm like a robot, folks. So there you go. New words and phrases prepared by Tavistock were introduced to America along with the Beatles. Words such as rock, in relation to music, sounds, teenager, cool, discovered, and pop music were a lexicon of disguised code words signifying the acceptance of drugs, and arrived with accompanied the Beatles wherever they went to be discovered by teenagers. Incidentally, the word teenagers was never used until before the Beatles arrived on the scene, courtesy of the Tavistock Institute for Human Relations. Mind control, folks. They just put push these guys out here like they've been doing for years. Like, look at the Backstreet Boys. Look at the was it the other one? NSYNC, I think it was. I don't know. Look at the Spice Girls. Everything. All the music is put out there to mind control you. To be like, oh wow, that's cool. Listen to their lyrics. That's cool. Listen to that. That's cool. Other Tavistock coined words were seemingly out of nowhere. Beatniks, hippies, flower children became part of the vocabulary of America, and they became popular to drop out and wear dirty jeans, go out about with long unwashed hair. Tavistock and its Stanford Research Center created trigger words which then came into general usage around rock music and its fans. Trigger words created a distinct new breakaway, largely young population group which was preceded by social engineering and conditioning to believe that the Beatles really were their favorite group. I hated the Beatles. I think I was the only one that always said, I was like, the Beatles suck, dude. They're not that good. And people would look at me and be like, the Beatles are awesome. There you go. There you go, Beatles. Puppets. You engineered pieces of shite. I don't like to be hateful, meanful, but when I get heated, folks. And just by reading this article. So there you go, man. This is my second part of the Tavistock Institute and the Beatles. Think about it. Tavistock Clinic was founded in 1921 by John Rawlins Rees, a medical officer in the Royal Army Medical Corps. The Tavistock Clinic was operated as a psychological warfare organization. Psychological. During World War II. Was reconstructed and enlarged in 1946 with the funding from the Rockefeller Foundation. Rockefeller assigned to Tavistock the duty of carrying out the implementing wide-scale war researches. The main area of practice through in various locations around the world was the U.S. The Institute and its works continue to be the best kept secret of the U.S. The Tavistock Institute, in particular, inspired by the famous psychoanalyst Sigmund Freud, research on controlling human behavior, right? Controlling a band or creating a band and then pushing them onto us to be like, oh, I want to be like them. They're so cool, right? Because we all like music. We all like artists, right? So they push these artists in front of our faces to make us idolize them, imitate them. And then there's those certain, fallouts that happen, drugs, etc. Da da da. So there you go. Human behavior. Tavistock Institute. That's what they do. Tavistock Institute currently works on mass brainwashing techniques and frequently puts them to the test on various societies. They design incidents that will leave people afraid, concerned, and worried. Study the results and work to change their psychological and neurological states. When worry becomes a part of a society, it becomes much easier to manipulate the masses. It should be remembered that one of the biggest goals of the British deep state has always been taking societies under their control. Same with America, folks. So, stop following those false idols. Be yourself. Be your own person. You don't need to follow them. You don't need to dress like them. Shoot, I used to be a punk rocker. I was following those idols. Dressing like that. Now I don't even care. I just wear jeans and a t-shirt. Like, I don't even care. Well, there you go. There's your part 2 of the Tavistock Institute of mind control manipulation through music. It's very interesting that I just came upon this. Thank you for watching. God bless you all, people. All right? Be yourself. Think for yourself. All right? Don't believe everything you see on TV. And with that, bye-bye.